If you bought a handheld that isn't the Steam Deck, like the Legion Go 2, the Ally, or anything from Ion Neo, you've probably already had one cursed Windows update or dealings with Windows that made you question every decision you ever made about getting this handheld. So today we're breaking down Bazzite versus SteamOS, and more importantly, which OS you should be running on your handheld. Yes, the if you're a handheld gamer or even just bought one, the eternal question of what you should use. The new Windows full screen experience, SteamOS, Bazzite. We won't cover the Windows one yet because it is not horrible, but it's not great. And performance wise, you're going to do better. So, welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also the Brink, and we're starting strong with a topic I get questions about constantly. Should I run SteamOS on my Legion Go S, Ally? Should I switch my Ally to Bazzite? Is Linux actually better than Windows on handhelds? So today, I'm going to break it down for you. What Bazzite actually is, what SteamOS actually is, why they're so different, and which one you should install depending on the device you own. Let's jump into it. So think of Bazzite as an open source community powered version of SteamOS, but designed for all handheld PCs, not just the Steam Deck and beyond, actually. It's not just for handheld PCs, but also for PCs. It's built on Fedora's Atomic Super Stable Snapshot Update System, Universal Blue Images, Fedora Workstation underneath, and a ton of handheld focused patches and add-ons. Why it's a big deal? Atomic updates equals stupidly stable and simple updates. They're massive, but there's really no failure to it. Instant rollbacks. So if an update fails, it can just roll back to what it previously was. Faster GPU plus Mesa updates, which is for AMD. Better support for non-Valve hardware. Full desktop OS baked in. Heroic Lutris emulators built in. Way easier control over drivers and apps. If SteamOS is a locked down console, Bazzite is the unlocked mod-friendly PC version. And don't get me wrong, you can do both. SteamOS is still fairly moddable, but it's going to be a little easier with Bazzite, but clean and stable. SteamOS is Valve's operating system, and it's absolutely amazing, honestly, on the Steam Deck. It's tuned specifically for Steam Deck hardware, Steam's UI stack, Steam's input, Valve's GameScope compositor, their battery tuning, their kernel patches, their entire user experience is more geared towards Steam Deck and now the future Steam Machine. It is designed for those systems. Now, that being said, I think they're working towards a more open and honestly allowing more outside updates to their operating system for other devices, but we're still not quite there yet. So SteamOS gives the deck the console-like polish it has today, and it is very polished. But here's the important point. Valve originally optimized SteamOS specifically for the Steam Deck. That's still the hardware where it performs best today. But starting in 2025, Valve has begun officially supporting select third-party handhelds like the Legion Go S and ROG Ally through SteamOS updates. SteamOS can run on a wide range of devices, GVD, INEO, Minis 4, mini PCs, and more, but only a few models have full official support. If your device isn't on that list, you can install SteamOS, but be ready for missing drivers, quirks, and a little DIY Linux adventure mode. Typically, it's not too bad. It's more or less like controller lighting and some other stuff, and even that could be patched in by the time you see this. Next up is this comparison. Let's go head-to-head with these things. This comparison will be based on an out-of-the-box experience, as the SteamOS can have some of these added later. So let's start out with performance. SteamOS, best on Steam Deck. Bazzite, best on basically every other handheld. Faster Mesa and kernel updates, better performance on new APUs, super resolution scaling, Legion Go specifically, and this is just kind of some points. And the winner for this is going to be Steam Deck, SteamOS, and all other handhelds, Bazzite. This is going to be a subjective thing, obviously, where what do you want more of? Performance in specific games, or just all around like a little bit better performing operating system on your device. And that's kind of where I set on this. It could be different later down the road. Game compatibility. SteamOS nails Steam titles. Everything outside of Steam, you're installing extra stuff. Bazzite, on the other hand, has Heroic built in, Lutris built in, better Wine Proton flexibility, Epic plus GOG support out of the box, and emulation is nearly perfect. And so obviously the winner is going to be Bazzite, unless you only play Steam games. Yeah, you can install these on the SteamOS. It's just not out of the box. Number 3, updates and stability. SteamOS, extremely stable, Valve tested plus verified system. Is a mixed bag for some people, but I like the system. I think it's pretty good. Bazzite, on the other hand, has the atomic snapshot updates, which once again, SteamOS does too. Faster driver cadences. It's easier to update your drivers and some other updates on Bazzite. Rollbacks are instant, surprisingly stable for a community OS. And so the winner is SteamOS on deck, Bazzite on everything else. Shocker, right? You're kind of probably knowing where we're going with this whole thing. Number 4 is desktop mode and apps. SteamOS desktop mode works, but it's a very Valve-shaped thanks to Arch under the hood. So the Arch has its niceties. You build together your operating system, but you can leave a lot of stuff out. And as someone that has developed on the Steam Deck and on Fedora, I'm going to choose Fedora every time. As a developer, that is. There's a lot of stuff missing that you have to add in, and it's just kind of annoying. Bazzite, full Fedora workstation, full Flatpak support. You can install basically anything. Desktop mode feels like a real Linux PC. And this is the most important thing that kind of wraps all this other stuff into it. Has different desktop environment options, KDE and GNOME specifically. So the winner, Bazzite, by, I would say, depend if you're like a true desktop user, by a lot. If you like to get in there and do browsing of the interwebs and other things like that are a little bit more simple, it's not bad on SteamOS. It's just you're going to have a better experience. Next up is hardware support. SteamOS only optimized for deck hardware. And of course, like we said, some handhelds now, and updates lag behind Fedora and Mesa releases, meaning you could have a new Mesa, like AMD driver update or NVIDIA driver update. Speaking of, SteamOS doesn't even support NVIDIA, but you could have those come out. And if you're on like the built-in updating system of SteamOS, then you might not get that GPU update. And some of the GPU updates have really improved certain game compatibilities and performance. And then Bazzite supports almost every handheld, Ion Neo, GPD, Minis Form, Go, Ally, all good. Drivers update faster, more frequently, meaning like they're just there. You don't have to depend on Valve to decide on when it updates. Kernel support is modern. Winner. I think we see a trend here. It's Bazzite. So which OS should you actually use? This is the section most viewers came for, like you potentially. You really want to know. You don't want to really like think about it maybe too much. You just want to know what to slap onto that handheld. And so I got to say, if you're Steam Deck, stick with SteamOS. There's like really no huge benefit going to Bazzite except for having more flushed out desktop system and some other things. SteamOS is still the GOAT for deck owners. Only switch to Bazzite if you want heroic GOG Epic without extra setup. You want a full Fedora desktop. You're big into emulation, which all these you can, for the most part, do yourself inside of SteamOS, but it's much easier with Bazzite. You want faster kernel, Mesa updates, your Tinker. You just want to do a little bit more and not be limited by the Arch operating system that Valve's kind of locked down on SteamOS. But for most deck owners, stay on SteamOS. So Bazzite still might have a place for you, but even if you install Bazzite, the desktop experience might still be limiting a little bit, as I've done development on Steam Decks, and you can easily max out that CPU just programming alone. Now let's talk about Legion Go. Legion Go 2, Bazzite's huge upgrade. Windows is not optimized for the Go. It's getting more so now, but it's Xbox Ally X is more its a shining star for the Xbox full screen mode. Bazzite gives you better performance than Windows, better scaling at 1600p, better controller support, and then a full desktop. It just feels more flushed out for these handhelds. That being said, it is not perfect. I will say that. Bazzite still has some of its issues, but they've resolved most of them. Mini PCs, HTPCs, Bazzite desktop or HTPC image. SteamOS is not officially supported. Bazzite's HTPC mode is fantastic. So if you have a mini PC that you want to refactor into a game console, like the new upcoming Steam machine, you can do that with Bazzite. Gaming desktops, laptops, a Bazzite desktop if you're going Linux. If you want a SteamOS-like Linux experience on a PC, Bazzite is the way to go. Final verdict on this whole thing. Here's the truth. SteamOS is incredible, but it's only meant for the Steam Deck, and it truly is what started Bazzite. Bazzite wouldn't be here without SteamOS, let's be honest. And a lot of updates that happen in SteamOS get ported over to Bazzite. The couple of kickers are, it's a little bit heavier of an operating system. So Arch is very light, while Fedora is going to be a lot heavier with Bazzite. But Bazzite is incredible, and it's meant for everyone else besides Steam Deck and Steam Machine kind of stuff. I think that will change, and we'll probably be doing this in a year from now and maybe changing our minds. So if you own a Legion Go, Ally, INEO, GBD, Minis Form handheld, or a mini PC, Bazzite is the OS that makes your hardware feel like a real console. If you own a Steam Deck, SteamOS gives you the best possible deck experience. All right, everyone. That's the real breakdown of Bazzite versus SteamOS in 2025. If you want me to do a full Bazzite installation guide, Bazzite versus Windows benchmarks, Legion Go 2 versus ROG Ally comparison, or SteamOS on non-deck hardware, let me know in the comments. And just so you know, we're kind of doing a little bit of a relaunch of the channel. So make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and bash that bell with your crowbar. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Later.